Hey, this is Mo Lunsford at Union Grove Lumber Studios.
And this is the Shed Geek. We want to welcome you to today's episode.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Shed Geek podcast. Friday fun day with Sambassador style. Oh, it's late, and I can tell it's late. So
It's been a long day.
it's been a long day. I'm here with Jason Kaufman. We are in the middle of the Shed Expo in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Yeah.
And last time we were here, we had a lot of fun. Rolling around in the back of a van, all kinds of good food and stuff.
BMW.
So, yep, the big Mennonite wagon.
Who was the driver that
Tim
night?
Hirschberger.
Tim Hirsch. I knew his name was Hirschberger.
Yeah, shout
I
out to
couldn't
Tim.
remember.
He had
Yeah.
his minivan here, and we had like 9 guys packed in that thing. And we
Paul's-
were looking for ice cream.
We were. Paul Stonecker had a seizure. He laughed so hard.
He did. And we couldn't get him back up off the floor. He was laying on the floor having a good time. I like coming up here. It's too far from home. I don't like that part.
You're not too far from home.
No, I know. You're a lot further than I am. So, what did you have? Like, how many hours was it?
30 hours.
30.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it makes my 12 look kind of easy.
Yeah.
So I actually, on the way up, I stopped in Fort Wayne. You remember how I always...
Indiana.
Yeah, Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Yeah.
Because I have new friends there. And I don't know if you've heard me talk about this or not, but they're new friends because they're the guys that won the mule at the North Carolina Bash.
Yeah. The
Loniger brothers.
Yes.
Yeah. So I stopped in there. Did I ever tell you? So you're not on Facebook much anymore. So
Not
I feel
much.
like I don't even get to connect with you much.
It sucks, but
No, it's
yeah.
good. I got to remember, Jason didn't see this, so I tend to try to keep
Yeah.
you up to date and send you stuff. But I had gone to the semi-truck pulls this summer
Okay.
where they race uphill.
Oh, up in Canada.
Well, it was here. They do it in northern Michigan. The
Oh, really?
Canadians come down.
Oh, wow.
Like it's part of their circuit.
Okay.
And I found out they do one in Ohio. That's so here they pull the double loaded lumber wagons.
Okay.
In Ohio they have the dump buggies.
Okay.
I don't think the Ohio one is quite as much weight. And I think we figured out it's about 120,000 pounds without the truck that they're pulling.
Yeah.
So depending on what the truck weighs, they're around 140, 145. And so on the way up, I was like, hey, I'm going by there. I'm going to stop because they had asked me to stop by a couple of times. And, man, I had as much fun with those guys as I've had it with anybody in the industry.
Yeah.
It was great. They are really good guys. So anyway, I called them the other night, and I'm like, look, I can drive all the way to Grand Rapids, but it'd be kind of cool to stop in and see y'all. Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. They were all about it. Mm-hmm. So stopped in. So I had 9.5 hours there. I left Monday morning at 3:30. Stopped and had breakfast with Corey Nolf in London, and I had Dan Utes with me, so at least I had somebody riding with me. Your passenger didn't.
Yeah, he flaked out on me, so I've been on my own.
Yeah, so and
That is a long trip by yourself.
It is. I'm to the point to where 8 to 9 to 10 hours is about what my max I want it to be.
Uh-huh.
So driving to Fort Wayne didn't feel too bad, and then get up the next morning, come the rest of the way. It's fairly easy if I got somebody along to talk to or whatever. So that does
helps a
help.
lot. Yeah.
When did you leave?
I had a delivery at home Monday morning, and then it was about an hour and a half in the right direction. And then I
nice.
just swapped out with my pilot car driver.
Oh, really?
And took the vehicle, and he drove my truck back.
Oh, okay. And he took.
So I would say I left the Rockies, 10:30 in the morning, something like that. And I drove till 11:30 that night and got a hotel. And then the next day was worse. The next day I left.
You had a lot left.
Oh my word! 7:15 I left my hotel Tuesday morning, and 11:15 I got here.
Yeah.
A little over 1,000 miles.
Yeah.
That was
Just hammer down. Stop for fuel, get a bite, go.
Yep.
Yeah. So we did the bash back in March. What you been up to since then?
Work mostly. I mean, I have actually had very little leisure time since the bash. At the bash, you remember I was still recovering from my concussion.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit.
And it's been a longer, slower road than I wish it would have been, but it's okay.
Doesn't have anything to do with you not getting enough rest. So just for the record, you guys, if you hear background noise, we're at it.
Theological discussions going on over here. And we got golf game going on behind us.
Yeah, we have a golf sim. We're at an Airbnb. I have gotten to where, so this actually started 3 years ago here in Grand Rapids. We got a motel room. You remember that?
Yeah,
we had a motel
you and
room
I shared
together.
a motel
Remember that?
room, yeah.
And it was on the back side of the motel, looked out at nothing.
Yeah.
And it was fairly boring.
Yeah.
Like we just stayed out till late.
Yeah.
And after that, I started thinking, if we could get 10 guys together, we could get some really nice Airbnb places and hang out like that.
And that's such a nice way to do an event like this, whether it's a bash or a expo or anything like this.
Yep.
It's so much more comfortable to get a bunch of guys together. You're not really spending that much more than a motel would be.
you're not.
And you got the comfort of home with you. You're not stuck in some stupid little motel room
Yep.
that uncomfortable.
Or down
$20
in the
chair.
lobby where everybody hangs out, which is kind of fun, but it's not comfortable.
Yeah, no, it's not.
So we did the Tennessee one.
Yeah.
Remember we had that nice place?
That was memorable. I
Yeah.
think of those stories we told late at night, and
Or I don't want to talk about those stories. Those stories need to stay in that house. Yeah.
what happened in that house stays in that
What
house.
happened in that house stays in that house. You know what sticks out?
All I'll say is, I'm not going to say.
No, don't. I need to change my wording. That's bad. That's just not going to work right out of the gate. What is most memorable to me about us staying at that house was the fact that, and this happens on a regular basis.
Was what Jay-Z said about you and I.
Yeah, what Jay-Z said about us. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And it's just
he
like,
figured you and I were total jerks.
yeah.
But we'd never
well, he
met
had
in
a better
person.
word, but
Well, we're not going to say it here.
but he did. He had just kind of decided that we were jerks,
Yeah.
and we were just Facebook
Keyboard warriors.
Yeah, keyboard warriors.
Yeah.
And I remember that the last morning riding back into the bash, and he's like, "I was wrong."
Y'all are
He's
okay.
like, "You guys are okay."
Yeah.
And after that, I was like, you know what? We can do so much better and more building relationships when we hang out with people.
Yeah.
We get so busy at events. You said something earlier tonight about how you didn't even get around today, and it's just a constant.
Well, it's that, and I don't know sometimes quite how to relate to it. And you're a lot better at remembering people than I am. I struggle with remembering people to start with.
Yeah.
And people come up to me and they're like, "Oh, you're Jason and you're Jason, or you write the stories."
Yeah.
That's probably the most common one I get because I get it from these Amish and Mennonites that don't see me anywhere else except to read my stories.
Yeah, they read
Shed
them in the
magazine.
yeah. Yep.
And I feel bad because I don't remember them. I don't know them. And I want to be a personable person and a friendly, approachable person, but I'm like, I can't even get down the aisle anymore.
No.
Everyone's stopping and talking.
Yeah.
But I mean, today was good again, just meeting a bunch of people and a bunch of people that I hadn't seen in several years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then a bunch of people that I'd never seen before. Just good, comfortable conversations.
Did you make the Virginia or the Knoxville expos?
No, this is the only place I've ever been at an expo.
Okay,
So I was
so-
here 3 years
yeah.
ago in 2021.
Okay.
And then here again.
All right.
So
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that. Let's talk about the expo a little bit. I was I kind of keep the pulse of the industry off of, Shed Sales Professionals, Shed Builder page, Shed Hauler page, Sheds United. And I actually felt like it was like attendance might be down because you didn't hear a lot of people talking about it. You know what I'm saying? And then there was a whole bunch of people show up that never said they were coming, or whatever. And
you're talking online. The
the
conversation
online
was subdued. Okay.
Yeah, the online conversation was subdued. Yeah, that's a good way of saying it. And then this morning, by the time it's time to open up, it's packed out.
Yeah.
And they come flooding in there, and for a couple hours, it's just crazy.
Yeah. Noisy.
Yeah, noisy. I can't hear anyway. And then you put all those people, and it's just a din. And then the thumpers are over there thumping on
Trying
the
to break that plexiglass.
Yeah, and J Mags being noisy, banging something up and down. It's but it was. I think all in all, we'll end up saying it was a good show.
It was bigger than, so we're in the same hall that we were 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And the last time we were here, they used exactly half the hall.
Yeah, because I
And this
remember we
time
were
here-
parked on the back side of the curtain.
Yeah. This time here, they used 3/4 or more of that hall.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big place.
And some of the big guys like Pine Hill, Scenic View, and Cardinal actually seem to be in smaller space. Pine Hill had 5 trailers last time.
Really? I
Yeah.
didn't remember that.
This time
Scenic
they-
View didn't have a booth.
Yeah, he didn't even have a
Yeah. I bumped into him and I was
he
like, hey,
here.
where's your booth? He's like, oh, we don't have a booth this
Yeah,
year.
yeah. And he had the booth over in the corner last time.
Yeah.
It's just some of the bigger ones seem smaller, and there was a lot more smaller ones.
Yeah. Cardinal felt bigger this time, but maybe I'm comparing it to 3 years ago. Cardinal
Yeah.
had a big footprint.
Yeah, Cardinal had a big footprint in their area there. They were probably they probably had the same size, but Cardinal Leasing was in their space.
Okay.
With a smaller area.
Yeah.
And then like I said, I felt like WKM and Pine Hill both were in a slightly smaller spot. Unlock the power of productivity with Cardinal Leasing. Are you looking to elevate your business operations with top-tier equipment? Look no further than Cardinal Leasing. We offer a wide range of reliable and high-quality equipment tailored to meet your unique needs. Flexible leasing options. Whether you need short-term rentals or long-term solutions, our customizable leasing plans are designed to provide maximum flexibility and affordability. Conventional financing available. Cardinal Leasing also offers great conventional finance options for those of you that prefer that over-lease purchase options. Expert support. Our team of experienced professionals is here to guide you every step of the way, ensuring a seamless leasing experience. Boost efficiency. With our top-of-the-line equipment, you can enhance productivity, reduce downtime, and achieve your business goals faster. Why choose Cardinal Leasing? Competitive rates, exceptional customer service, hassle-free process, quick and easy approvals. Don't let outdated equipment hold you back. Partner with Cardinal Leasing today and take your business to the next level. Contact us now. Visit our website at equipment.cardinalleasing.us or call us at 618-803-4086 to get started. So you're a builder. You don't just haul sheds. You build, you sell. What does the expo? I know you didn't get around much, and maybe this would be a question better for after tomorrow. Because I guess in tomorrow you're going to try to get around.
I don't know yet. I got 30 hours to drive, so
Well,
I might.
you might, yeah.
I mean, because if I get in there at 10:30, I won't get out of there till noon.
No, you won't.
Which is gonna.
there's no way.
I mean, that's if I rush it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I don't think
we'll
you'll
see
get.
how I feel in the morning.
Yeah.
See how good I sleep overnight.
Okay. But what do you see that what does the expo do for a guy like you that doesn't just haul? You build, you see all the other stuff they have going on there.
I think for me, and this was why I wanted my shop manager there, because he is more involved in that sort of stuff than I am at this point in my life.
Yeah.
And that is, there's just a lot of products out there that are available for builders. Mm-hmm. When my dad started building sheds in 1990, there was one window supplier.
Yep.
There's garage doors. We went to a local garage door company, and I mean, there were 4 or 5 roll-up door companies there today.
It kind of surprises me that, we always just bought local.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you can almost cut the local guy out and be the local guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I talked to a couple guys. I don't know if you've noticed this trend or not happening, but I'm sure the big companies all do it, but some of the more medium-sized companies are starting to start their own lumber yards. They're starting to roll their own metal. They're starting to, my buddy Norman down in Tennessee, he bought a window company. The guy that he was using to supply his windows, like he wasn't buying them at Lowe's or Home Depot or wherever. He had a supplier. The guy says, "Hey, I'm getting old. I want out of this." So Norman bought the window company.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe you should talk to Norman about getting windows. I don't know if he's got shed windows, but
see, and I actually see that with the medium-sized companies. I saw that in one of the companies in Montana quite a number of years ago. They just got tired of not having metal roofing like they wanted and on supply, and they started their own metal rolling company.
Just start their own.
Yeah, and now they're supplying all of their own plus all kinds of other people.
Yeah.
I
feel like I'm at the expo and I keep hearing this thing bang around, and it's those guys out there trying to play that golf simulator. But
we should golf together sometime.
Oh, that'd be fun.
I promise you would smoke me because I've golfed like 3 times in my life. But I'm competitive enough. And I would laugh at myself.
Oh yeah. Hey, well, that's a good idea.
Yeah. We should take Jason along too.
Yeah, take Jason along too. Yeah.
But back to that supply thing, and you see with the stuff that's available for all different guys, even small boutique guys like me, which that's where I would put myself as a very small shed company, a couple hundred sheds a year, where I've been in the industry forever, it seems, but you've got massive companies that are like nationwide companies, and then you've got regional companies, which are pretty big, and they're doing stuff like, buying their own roofing companies.
Yep.
Going to an expo like I did today, and you walk those aisles and you see one booth after another, and you think, hey, you know what? That's a product I've never thought I might need.
Yeah.
But I'm Innovations Technologies was there.
Yep.
So I had to pick up some ramps. I used their ramps. Well, they've got a door system there. Now, I didn't have a lot of time to look at the door system, but I'm intrigued because doors is a big part of my company. We brag our doors up. We give a lifetime warranty on our doors.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing that if you never go to an expo like this and you're never mingling with other builders, you are stuck in your own little echo chamber, and all you see is your shop and your production and maybe your competitors whose lot you're going to stop in once a year maybe and look to see what the competitors are doing.
They're doing.
And then you're playing a reactive game.
True.
Rather than going out there and saying, how can I make my product better? How can I make my product more consumer friendly? Rampage Doors was there today.
Yeah.
I've never used a Rampage door, but they're providing a service to people that, frankly, 4 years ago I'd never crossed my mind. I'm like, what? You get the little ramps and you build a little wooden ramp at the time. That's what we did.
Well, yeah. Then we had wooden ramps.
Yeah. So now there were 2 ramp companies there today.
Oh yeah.
Different designs.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Rampage door design.
Yep.
So to me, that's just that expo is so valuable for I think it's more valuable even for a small guy like me than it might be for the big companies that are more set in their ways. Small guys like me say, hey, I can add that feature to my shed without updating half a dozen shops in my region or 100 shops across the United States. I'd be like, no, I have one shop. I can incorporate that design.
That's cool. I get, and I 100% agree that it seems like it's even more important for the mid-sized guy. There's something, this goes back to 3 years ago when we were here. I was blown away by how many shed companies are in Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
And you would never know about them if the expo wasn't in Michigan. Now, a bunch of us fuss about the fact that it's, on the edge. It's not in the middle where it's easy for everybody to get to. We're kind of on the edge of our circle. But it blew me away when I was here last time about how many shops are in this area that come here because it's a local. But then you know what that makes me think of? And we get it. There's a pretty good representation of Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio. That does pretty good. But you don't see the southern shops, the middle-sized guys.
Yeah.
You don't see the guys in the Midwest. You don't see I guess they call this Midwest. To me, you don't see
It ain't Midwest till you get to the Dakotas.
Yeah. You don't see Missouri, Arkansas, Iowa, and from there out.
Yeah.
There's some that show up. They travel well. But to think of how many, there's 100 shed shops in Michigan.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
Well, how many? So here's a question for you, and you know the South and the East better than me. How many shed shops are in the Carolinas?
Oh, yeah. So I have 13 within 75 miles of me. I mean, think about that.
The Carolinas blow me away because Lancaster County was the epicenter of the shed industry when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That's where the sheds started.
They've been at it longer.
Yeah, they've been at it for 60, 70 years.
Yeah.
But the Carolinas just kind of blow me away how in the last 15 years, 20 years.
It's not that old.
Yeah, it's very young.
It's
and
young.
they're like, there's shed shops and shed displays everywhere. But my question for you was, how is the South? And see, I'm not familiar with the South at all, and I think you would know better. But, driving through the Gulf states, are there as many small little mom and pop one-shop productions places down there? Or me as a Yankee and a Westerner, it feels like, okay, the only ones down there are these big national companies.
So the national companies definitely hold up their end of it. But those 13 local shops with me, there's 2 national companies. The other 11 are local companies.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I guess small is relevant to, they're building 500 sheds a year, or they're building 200 sheds a year, or is that medium and a small one would be 100 sheds a year? Obviously, half of them are
I'd
probably
say if you're
less.
over 500 sheds, you're no longer small.
Yeah. So the majority of them would fall, probably into the 500 category fairly easy. And then there's a couple of them that are smaller ones. But here's the deal. I've said for years that the southern coast, what I call the southern coast states, so you got South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, before you get to Texas. Those states are actually, they're divided states because I-20 goes through the middle of them. And there is a distinct, in the last 5 years, there is a distinct I-20 to I-40 corridor where huge growth
And 40 is up in Tennessee.
Yeah, 40's in Tennessee. So you're actually above that line
Above
a
the
little
top
bit.
of those states,
But
yeah.
Tennessee and North Carolina would still be considered the Southeast. So it runs through there. It runs through half of Arkansas. So you take Arkansas and Louisiana all the way east, where 20 and 40 run through there. Some of the biggest growth in the U.S. happens in that corridor, around the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Insane, the growth that's there.
In the shed industry.
Yeah, I'm saying in housing.
Oh, okay.
People moving in from everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it more from like the
Just economic
National Builders
Okay,
Association.
yeah.
And so I used to be on that thing, so I still get a lot of the emails. I see the growth numbers every year. I made a comment on one of my podcasts a couple weeks ago that in our basic 4-county upstate region, which wouldn't even include all the counties between 20 and the line. Like there's another 20 counties down there. I'm just talking about the 4 Golden Corner counties in South Carolina. We aren't even building enough sheds to keep up with new permits in one of those counties.
That's crazy.
Think about that.
That's crazy.
It's like, wait a minute, because that's, I look at where our new customers going to come from. And, I've got it all broke down on a paper at home that I had from way back in 2016. How many come from, new building permits from people moving in, building houses? How many come from people that move from one house to the other and they need more storage or whatever? And how many come from, what are the numbers of high school kids that are graduating? Because those people are entering the workforce. They're starting to look at getting married, getting their own houses or whatever.
Housing, yeah.
It's ridiculous. We can't keep up nowhere close.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I sit here and I'm like, well, 13 manufacturers in a small area seems crazy. But then so does having 1.1 million go to 1.7 million in a couple years of people. And it's like,
Yeah.
now, understand those people are coming from somewhere else.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I used to say about church growth. Is your church growth just Christians coming from other churches?
Yeah.
Or are they actually new Christians?
Well,
so it's a little
and
that same way.
We have, and I'll stay out of the politics of it, but we have 11 million new people coming into this country in the last 3.5 years.
Oh, I know.
So you have, and that's illegally.
Yeah.
And then you get your legal immigration, and you have migration. So the West Coast states, and so we're seeing this in Montana, but California, Oregon, and Washington are losing population. They're actually losing. California lost a seat in the House of Representatives because of the amount of people leaving there. So places like the Carolinas, places like Montana, where I'm from, we're seeing an influx of people coming in.
Yeah.
So our population has gone insane. I mean, the population of Flathead County, which is a county that I sell the majority of my sheds to, has gone up by close to 50% since COVID, and that's
since I was out there.
Yeah.
Dude, that
it is
it's
mind-boggling.
so hard to wrap. But then here's the thing: we have people moving down from New York. You have people moving from California. I get Al Bontrager on here in Texas, and he just rants about the amount of people moving in from California and other places.
Do you know how many Texans we're getting in Montana
Yeah,
because
they're
the
tired of that.
Californians are coming into Texas?
And like Texas ain't big enough. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So back in the early 2000s, we had people moving in from Florida because the original Florida people were tired of everybody moving down there, so they were moving up into South Carolina, Tennessee. Tennessee's a huge spot. Huntsville, Alabama is huge on the radar for growth right now.
Yeah.
And you're like, why there? I don't know. It's just weird how these hot spots. But here's what I'm saying. I talked to a guy today that used to be one of my clients in rent to own that's in upstate New York. Mm-hmm. They're not hurting. They're selling sheds left and right. And
from downstaters moving upstate or what?
I don't know.
That's something that's been puzzling to me because I used to live in upstate New York.
And one of the biggest sales lots that I currently know of is in Northern California.
Wow.
And it's like, wait a minute. These states are supposed to be in downturns.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There was a guy there today. He's I think he would be considered Southwest Washington.
Yeah.
That has, a pretty young, fresh shed company. I asked him how he's doing. Yeah.
Oh, that's my cousin.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's doing fine.
Yeah, he
How
is.
can you be doing fine in a state that's losing people?
I don't know. Simply, are those states supplementing their exodus via immigration, both legal and illegal? I don't know.
Maybe. But it doesn't seem like we can
You can't put about you can't like clearly define exactly what's going on.
you can't. You
There's
can't clearly.
a mystery. I mean, it's okay. And this is off the subject matter of sheds, but it is kind of like this. Why do we have a service industry labor shortage?
Oh yeah,
And it is
and
coast
it's
to coast.
Oh yeah, that's everywhere.
It's not just in the city or not in this place.
Yeah.
I mean, today we went to go find some place to eat for lunch.
Yeah.
And we get to the one restaurant that I just looked up on Google, and I looked at the line there at the food court, and I'm like, I'm not waiting that long.
Yeah.
So John Zook and we headed out the road and hiked up, found a little cafe, and walked in there, and there's a bunch of shed guys in there, and I kind of looked at them, and nobody comes to talk to us for about 3 minutes. Then I looked at them, I'm like, how long have you been here? And they said, an hour. And they don't have their food yet.
Yeah, they didn't have food yet.
We turned and walked out.
Yeah,
I'm like,
we
I'm
were
not
there
waiting.
a little while.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you were there.
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
was there.
So
Yeah.
I have puzzled with, I sold a shed to my local county rodeo organizer, and he owns a grocery store in my local town.
Okay.
And I said, Mike, what's going on with the labor shortage? You own a grocery store. You're hiring these entry-level service jobs. Mm-hmm. You're hiring these people at $12, $15, $17 an hour.
Yep.
And he said, I honestly cannot put my finger on it. But since COVID, we have had such a labor shortage. And he said, it's not just the boomers have all retired. It's the kids aren't working anymore either. Like the high school kids that I used to employ.
Oh, I know.
Our town, which is a small town in Montana, but it is the largest Class A football team town in the state of Montana. So we have AA and AAA, so it's the big cities that have the bigger teams. But we've won state championship quite a few times out of Eureka. But
that is crazy.
He said, where are all these youth? I don't know where these high schoolers are. I don't see them walking the streets, and I can't hire them because I don't know where they are. So
They're
that's
getting
an
tech
unknown.
jobs. They're getting tech jobs of buying sheds. That's what they're
Maybe
doing.
they are. But that's the kind of thing that there's this. I'm sure that there's some geek in a office will show me a spreadsheet and some flow chart. But it is hard for you or I to put our finger on it and say, this is why the shed industry is doing what it's doing. This is why the labor shortage is happening what it's happening. I mean, I don't know if you responded to that email request about what's going on with the shed industry and is it slow and do you think it's an election year and all that?
Yep.
My business is down by about 30% this year over last year this time, 30 to 35%. Talked to another guy that's in my region, and he said, we're down 50% overall. Talked to another guy, and they're down by 50% or greater. Do I know exactly why that's happening? I don't think it's that many people are waiting to see if Donald Trump becomes president.
No,
I think it's because you've got that many people. And it's just part of the reason, isn't all of it. You got that many people that are saying my grocery bill is now $300 a week, and it used to be $175 a week.
Absolutely.
And my insurance bill is now $4,000 a year, and it used to be $2,500 a year. And that's hurting people. And like it or not, the shed industry is catering to middle and lower class America. We are not selling to Bill Gates. We're not selling to these rich software developers.
No, because those guys will build they're
going to do what they're going to do.
Yeah, they'll build a nice barn.
Yeah. We're selling to the middle class and those below it.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking the rent-to-own industry, you're servicing the people that do not have the cash to buy it. So those people are looking at it and saying, oh, 4 years ago, they'd say, yeah, I can afford $200 a month for a shed.
Yeah.
Now they're saying my insurance and my grocery bill are $400 more per month than they were 4 years ago. I can't afford the shed.
Yep.
That's how I'm seeing it.
Yeah. So let's switch gears a little bit.
We got way off track. Sorry about that.
No, that's all good. I want to go back to something you said earlier about how you couldn't even get around today in there. You kept getting sidetracked or stuff.
Yeah.
I know why that is. I want our people to know why that is. What makes Jason Kaufman come to Michigan 30 hours from home and he can't get around in a show?
I think most of the people that have walked up to me have been like, you writing the stories? I had no idea that many people read that magazine and read those stories. Yeah. And I've actually taken a break right now of writing because of my health this past year. Yeah. And just because of everything else that's been overwhelming to me. But something that I don't know the number, but how many people today told me my kid grabs that magazine and turns straight to your page every time it comes in.
You're the Pat McManus of the shed industry. We can't wait to see what happened next. So where does that come from?
I mean, I hauled my first shed in '95. So it's been almost 30 years.
So you have the stories, but a lot of other. I mean, we stand around and we get it. We hang around people all the time. We hear stories, goofy stories. How do you? So my secret to good writing for me is I have to be patient. I have to be willing to type out all the words. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, especially the conversation is hard for me.
Yes,
like you're back and forth when you're saying. He said, she said, customer said, cop said, what?
And you want to just kind of,
and I'm just want to get past that. And
but that's what
dialogue is what makes a good story.
Yes, that's what makes it good,
and that's hard. That's hard work.
Yeah. So, where did that where's that come from?
Actually, I was talking to a guy today, and he was asking me that very question.
Really?
He's like, "Where did you get this? Where'd you?" And he's like,
You're a shed builder."
Yeah.
I mean, you run a huge company.
I went to college, and I was an English major. And I said, honestly. My parents, I'm a high school dropout, okay? I didn't even get a high school diploma.
Yeah.
But I read voraciously as a kid. I read every book I could get my hands on. And my parents were sensible enough to not let me read garbage. But there's good literature out there, fiction and nonfiction, that it's written by quality authors that will teach you everything you need to know about good sentence structure, good English, good language.
Yeah.
And then I mean, I grew up, you said Pat McManus. I grew up reading Pat McManus. I grew up reading Don Zadel and Peter Capstick and people like that who have a flair for writing that is, I would love to say that someday I may reach their level of writing, but reading those, Louis L'Amour, I mean, reading authors that know how to put a good story together was what would shape my writing style.
Yeah.
And then going back over 30 years of stories of, deliveries and customers and stuff. I mean, it just, and there's probably, several times a year I bump into a customer and I'm like, oh yeah, that's going to make a story. And I'll put a note in my phone so that it'll be there.
Yeah.
The next time I'm like, what story am I going to write now?
Yeah.
I think patience, like you said, typing it out, and then having for me, something that I as a hard discipline for me is going back and redoing it and deleting a whole paragraph and rewriting it because I'm not happy with it. I tend to be like, oh, screw it, I'm done. Yeah. But I know that in order to get it right, I have to spend the time, and then reading it out loud to my wife or my kids, I'll find stuff reading it out loud.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I can skim over it, and I know what the story's supposed to say, and so I don't notice the mistakes sometimes until I read it out loud, and then I'm like, oh, wait, that's actually the completely wrong word, or that sentence sounds weird once I read it out loud.
Yeah.
So I would say that, and then I have a geeky English major cousin who proofreads my stories.
Okay.
So I'll send them to him, and he said, it takes him an hour or two, and he just looks for punctuation and misspelling mistakes that I still miss because I'm not that good at that.
Yeah.
But
introducing the Challenger, the revolutionary new shed mover that's taking the industry by storm. The Challenger features a touchless design, ensuring it only makes contact at the end of the skids and the bottom of the floor joists, so rest easy knowing your gable walls will remain pristine. Worried about reliability? Fear not, the Challenger is always up for the challenge and will not overturn or scuff your shed. Harness the power of innovative wireless technology. Remotely control the Challenger via your smartphone. No cell service needed. And guess what? The cell phone remote comes standard with every Challenger at no extra cost. Featuring floating forks, a 4-directional tilting mast, and sliding weight transfer, move the shed weight precisely where you need it to get ultimate traction. With self-loading capability, straight onto your truck, say goodbye to the need for a hydraulic carriage. The Challenger makes your job easy and more efficient. Choose from 2 machine sizes, 10,000 pounds and 15,000 pounds. Perfect for any job. Visit www.shedchallenger.com or email us at info@shedchallenger.com or call or text 828-220-3508 for more information. Experience the future of shed moving with the Challenger. Matt Poe's very good at staying on me about writing, and he gives me subject matter like that last one we're both in. And I told him today, I said, don't stop doing that.
yeah,
It's just, I guess it's called writer's block or whatever. I get too busy doing other stuff, and I don't want to write. And I'm thankful that they don't require me to write every time, that they're cool with, and that they give me the grace that I can write in whenever I want to.
Yeah.
It's been really cool to have that and to be able to do it.
Well, and that's something that, when I talk to Matt and Marty about my health and my reasons for just having to say, I got to pull back and take a break earlier this year, and they were totally cool with it. And talking to Marty today, he just said, whenever you want to write, we'll take another story. And so I'm hoping to be able to put more in there. I am also, and this has been a dream of mine, I want to publish a book at some point.
Yeah.
And to do that, I also want to put a lot of content in it that I have not published already, which will make it appealing for people to buy. Also book, it's a different format, and I can add stuff to it that is, as a feature article in a magazine, it's a little harder.
It's a little harder to do. Cool. You have any good stories bubbling around in there that you're working on, or?
Oh, nothing.
You moved. Right, what's his name's building again?
Ziggy Robbins.
Yeah, Zig. You haven't wrote about that yet, have you?
That was my last story.
Oh, it was your last.
Was my last story.
The second. That was the last one where you actually went.
The third time I moved.
Oh, the third time I moved. Okay.
So that was literally. He's the gift that keeps on giving.
That's good.
The first time I was there, I knew I had already started writing stories for Shed Builder, and I knew while I'm standing there
that's awesome.
when he's climbing up the tree in his sandals with a chainsaw, cutting limbs off of his neighbor's tree so that I can get the shed passed.
Oh, my word.
I stood there just like in disbelief.
Yeah,
and
you're
there was
like, this is just going to be another.
Is this going?
Yeah.
And then I go back and move it again, and again, like insane stuff comes up that like you can't make it up.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last time, he's like, yeah, I need it moved here, and this is what I got to do, and I'm going to build the fence. And then I show up, and he's got a hole dug in the ground, 4 feet deep, right next to the shed. And I'm just looking at it like in disbelief. And he says, well,
what is this?
The town won't let me put a 10-foot fence up. So I put a 6-foot fence up and dug a 4-foot hole. I don't want my neighbors seeing me sitting around the campfire. And
So he sits in the hole?
He sits in the hole. And he landscaped the hole. The guy's like a manic energy robot on. I've never seen the likes. Like his buddies are all smoking pot. I mean, the place reeks of pot.
Yeah.
By the time I leave, I'm like, get off my clothes.
Get off. Yeah.
But pot mellows everyone else out that I've ever seen.
Yeah,
Like, they're
yeah,
just
yeah,
kind
it
of
does.
slow.
Yeah,
And
cool.
he's like a monkey on Red Bull. Like he is jumping and running around and shoveling gravel till there's 3 shovelfuls in the air before the fourth one hits.
Yeah, I know exactly what.
He's and I just it's literally. I have a feeling at some point I'm going to interact with him again. Like it's just
like it's
mind-boggling.
never going to end.
Yeah, it's never going to end. I mean, so the first time I was there, and this was the part that blew my mind. He's cutting his neighbor's trees down, and his neighbor's got a gigantic maple tree on the border, but it's on his neighbor's property. It is not on his property. It ain't like half the tree is his.
Yeah,
it is his
it's
neighbor's
tree.
And he's climbing up there and cutting limbs off that are 6 inches in diameter, that are hanging over his property. I mean, the tree's getting completely butchered.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the neighbor's going to come out and shoot us.
Yeah,
it turns out he's like, oh, yeah, the neighbor ain't home. He's going to be fine. So we put the building back in there, and I'm like, I'm leaving before the neighbor gets here.
Yeah, for real.
When I get called back 2 months later because the city said he couldn't have the building that close to the line. And his building was like a half inch over the line.
Oh, boy.
And that city has a 6-foot setback.
Oh, yeah.
So he's like, oh, we got to move it. When I showed up to move it, the tree's completely gone. All the trees in the tree line were gone. And I looked at it and I'm like, so what happened here? Like, I'm not trying to pry too much, but I'm dying of curiosity. And he's like, oh, yeah, the neighbor's like, cut it all down. He paid me to cut all these trees down and do the landscaping around his property.
Way.
You can't make that up. Like, you cannot make up a guy that butchers his neighbor's tree and then gets paid to
clean
cut
them up the rest of the way. That's crazy.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. You also you said something else I want to get back to. You said you've been in this industry. You've been in sheds a long time.
Yeah.
Where do I'm trying to visualize. I can't speak tonight. A 10-year-old Jason sitting in a schoolroom, and I told you I was going to ask you this. 10 years old, sitting in a schoolroom, and so at 10 years old, sitting in a schoolroom, I'm dreaming of driving a dump truck. That's what I was doing. What were you doing?
Interestingly enough, I remember as I would have been that 8, 9, 10 years old, I remember dreaming of living out west and having a horse ranch. My dad worked in a pallet factory, and my dad had been a farmer before I was born, and even up until I was 6 years old, my dad was a farmer, and he never got farming out of his blood. He's always, even today, he has horses and something around. Yeah. But as a kid, we had a milk cow. I milked by hand. And we had some sheep and some beef cattle and a horse and a pony or, whatever. There was always animals around our property.
Where were you living?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, yeah.
So I grew up with animals, and I loved horses. And in my mind, like, living out west on a horse ranch was like the dream.
Yeah.
Well, in 1990, I was 11 years old, and my dad up and moved our family. Don't try to figure out how old I am.
No, I'm holding my head here. You got to go on YouTube to see this because I'm just sitting here holding my head. In 1990, you were 11.
Yeah.
I got married in 90.
And we're not that much difference in age.
but you got married
at that
young.
I did get married young,
What were you, 20?
but no, I was 19, barely.
Okay, so we're 8 years apart.
Yeah, we're 8 years apart. But at that point of life, 8 years is a big deal.
Yeah, it is.
Now it's not that much. I
Yeah.
mean, like, I literally consider you one of my best friends, one of my, what's the word? Equals.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel the same way. I'm
You know what I'm saying?
when there's someone I'm like, this is someone that I'll bounce ideas off of, and this is someone that I consider a friend that's been a friend for a long time.
Yeah.
It's you.
And we've not really been that long. I mean, it's starting to get longer.
I mean, we
But-
met on Facebook in 17, maybe.
The Holler page, was 10 years old last month.
Wow.
And in a way, it's like, that's a long time. But then in another way, it's like, seriously? It's only been 10 years?
So you and I were put in as moderators on that page, or administrators on that page, about 9 years ago, and I think that's when we started connecting.
Well, I was actually put in the day it started.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I went,
and then you showed up
later.
about a year later.
Yeah.
But it's okay. Let's get back to 11 years old at 90, because it's like, wait a minute. Like, I'm thinking about the kids that were 9 years old when I got married, and
they were little brats.
They were little, yeah, for real. You know, so here's another thing I do. We're just going to rabbit trail. Hold on to 11 years old. When I got out of school.
Yeah.
Now I'm like you. I'm not a high school dropout. I wasn't allowed to go to high school.
Yeah.
I wanted to. I begged my dad. I wanted to be an architect and get my architect degree and stuff. Well, you got to go to high school and you got to go to college.
Yeah.
And no, I literally went out and learned how to build houses. That's what we did. You know, and 12 years old, I was slinging sheetrock and mudding it and framing and stuff like that. But I remember when I got out of school, the kids that were being born, like that was a huge age gap.
Yeah, they were non-existent.
Most
in your world.
of the haulers are younger than that.
They weren't even born.
They weren't even born.
Okay. Want to know something mind-boggling? Is look how many haulers can't remember 9/11
Yes.
or Y2K.
Yeah, or Y2K.
Like,
Y2K.
those are things in our lives that
happened really
massive.
close,
Yeah,
and they were
they're
massive
formative things.
Oh yeah, they were.
Like I remember where I was sitting when I heard about the planes hitting the towers.
Yeah.
And I remember the apprehension leading up for 6 months to Y2K, and even the last few hours, like what's going to happen? The lights are going to go off.
One of the biggest parties, I throw big parties. One of the biggest parties I've ever thrown was on the night of Y2K. And we stayed up. We didn't just stay up till midnight. We stayed up till the sun came up. And I had people there from 4 states. And we didn't have Facebook or nothing. I don't even know how they found us. You know what I'm saying?
Well, speaking in 2000, you got married in 1990. I got married in 99.
Oh, you did?
9 years later.
Yeah, 9 years later. So you weren't much
I was
older
20.
than me.
Yeah, I was 20.
True.
25 days. No, about 5 days after my 20th birthday, I got married.
I was literally like 5. Well, I turned 19 in September and got married in November. So I had a little more than 5 days after 19, but close.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for listening to today's episode. This was part 1 of a 2-part episode. So be sure to listen next week to finish today's podcast.
Hey, this is Mo Lunsford in sunny Union Grove, North Carolina, and we want to say thank you to all the guests and listeners.